Hey everyone, just wanted to go over the double-decker pattern using a Morrish Hopper body punch. I've already cut the foam here. This is a size 12. Just want to go ahead and start, and we'll start by just cutting the foam down the middle with the razor blade. This will just seat against the hook shank. So you want to make sure that you don't cut deep into the foam so it doesn't come through the top. Then you just take your scissors and we'll just round the edges of the foam on the underside, cut a little angle on the tail, and then just trim those corners or the edges of that foam down just so it kind of gives it a more round profile and takes away those edges. Just be careful that you're not trimming too much into the foam. You don't want any of that gray portion of the foam to be showing through as we cut this. And you can do this in a multiple of color variations if you want. This is just two pieces of 2mm foam glued together. Okay, so next I've gone ahead and taken two pieces of round rubber, just made a knot. Obviously you'll make two legs for the back. And we'll go ahead and start by putting our thread on the hook shank here, starting at the eye, and we'll wrap back to just above the barb of the hook. We want to make sure that we still cover the hook shank because that we'll put some glue down, and that'll help hold that glue onto the thread rather than just onto that bare hook shank so it doesn't slide around, the foam doesn't slide around near as much. I'll bring my thread forward here to just before the point of the hook, and we'll take a drop of super glue here and just put a light dab along the hook shank. You don't need a lot, you don't want to have a big mess as you're putting the foam on. So I just put a drop on and spread it up towards the eye, and then we're ready to put the foam on. So I'll just line it up with the cut that I made, kind of fold it open, and then press that foam right against the hook shank. The idea is to cover the hook shank. You don't want a lot of that hook shank exposed, so we'll just kind of compress that foam onto it. That glue will hold that on nice, and then I'll go ahead and start with my thread wraps. Some tight wraps to kind of help secure that on there, get that going, and then we'll go ahead and start with our legs. So as I said, I've pre-knotted these. We'll measure them. They don't need to extend all the way back. Notice I have them about 3/4 of the way back towards the end of the fly here. So I'll tie my first set in, and we'll trim off the excess in the front portion of the fly. And I'll go ahead and tie in my second set of legs here on the opposite side. You just want to make sure these are proportionate for the foam that you're using. So obviously if you're using a bigger foam cutter, you're going to have your legs are going to be a little bit longer. Then we can go ahead and trim these to size as we need. But I don't like the knotted portion to hang back towards the back of the fly. I like it to be about that 3/4 mark there. So I'll go ahead and split the back end of these legs, and I'll cut the top leg off once I've split these. Just trim them down to size. So once we have our legs trimmed and at the right size, we're going to go ahead and prepare our wing material. Just have some gray polypropylene yarn, and we'll go ahead and just measure that. I just take one strand off of this braided cord here and measure that to size. Usually just have the wing extending back from our first tie-in point to the end of the foam, and I'll go ahead and brush that yarn out just to make it nice and fluffy. I like to do it beforehand so when you're have it all tied in and stuff, you start brushing it out, it doesn't accidentally pull free. So we'll go ahead and take our wing material and just place that against the foam here. I usually leave it hanging out just a little bit. I'll go ahead and trim that after I'm done tying it in, but I'll wrap that around, my thread around a few times nice and tight. I will super glue this too to help kind of hold that in. Trim off that excess there in the front. And then we can go ahead and add just a drop of glue here just to my thread wraps. I want this glue to also kind of go against the rubber legs as well to kind of help secure those in, just so the fish don't pull those out or end up pulling them out on accident. So that just helps build a stronger fly, more secure fly. Go ahead and add my indicator piece here. I've cut that indicator piece to be the width size of the hook gap, and then we'll trim it obviously for length when we finish the fly, but that super glue will also hold that on. Next we'll just do a cross wrap up and over the gray portion of the foam. We want to be at about the quarter mark of the hook shank there when we start doing our wraps around the foam body. Give that 2 good wraps there, then we'll tie in our first set of front legs here. Just want to make a nice V with those. Position those in the middle of the foam. Then I'll grab my second set, add those. You notice I slip that just underneath the thread there and just position it right up against the foam, and that thread holds it. Then I can wrap up and over. I'll tie my indicator piece down, then I'll trim that off. And that's pretty much the fly right there. We're pretty much done. We can go ahead and, as you can see, the underbody, no hook showing there. We have the glue on there is going to hold that foam in nice and secure. So I can go ahead and whip finish now. I whip finish right over top of the foam just because I don't want to peel that foam up and cause that glue to separate from the hook itself. So we'll whip finish there, and then I'll go back in and you can add some glue to the underbody. Trim your legs to proportion there so they're not big tarantula legs. And that's it. That's the double decker. You can also do this with triple deckers as well if you glue 3 pieces of foam together. That works pretty well also. So good summertime hopper pattern. Little ones come on first, so seen a couple out. So go ahead and give it a shot. And I just think this is an overall really good hopper pattern all over the West, and I'm sure throughout the country too, wherever you got hoppers hopping around. So good luck, and let us know how you do.